Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another hour of Healthy Conclusions, where we try to give our listeners important information on nutrition, exercise, holistic, alternative, and integrative medicine. Please take a minute to visit our website at www.healthyconclusions.com and like us on Facebook. My name is Bob Neugebauer, and I will be your host for this evening's show. Tonight's show is being brought to you by Altrua Health Share, which has been serving its members and their families with their health care needs since 1997. Please take a moment to visit their website at altruahealthshare.org or call 888-244-3839 to see just what Altrua Health Share can offer for your family's health care needs. It could mean substantial savings to you. Our guest for this evening is John Keller, who is going to talk to us about the benefits of Tai Chi. Now, I know a lot of you may not know what Tai Chi is, but you're going to learn about it in this next hour. John started his training back in 1978 and in 1980 started formal training in a traditional Shaolin martial arts, also known as Kung Fu. He is an elder master with an 8th degree black belt and owns the Chinese Shaolin Center for Martial Arts in Boise, where he has trained hundreds of students in Shaolin martial arts and Tai Chi Chuan. If you have anything to say and add to this, John, I'd appreciate it if you'd do it right now.
Hey, Bob, how are you?
Good, thank you.
The correct pronunciation is Shaolin Kung Fu, and but you're very close with it, but that sounds great.
All right, I'm getting better, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, let's start this whole conversation off here so our audience can get a better perspective of Tai Chi. Could you tell us what Tai Chi is and its meaning, the meaning of Tai Chi?
Certainly. The translation of Tai Chi Chuan loosely means the grand ultimate fist. And Tai Chi is deeply rooted in an old philosophical way of thinking called Taoism. And the concept of Tai Chi has been around for a lot longer than the Tai Chi movements that we have come to know today. Taoism goes back a few thousand years, but Tai Chi was developed anywhere from 800 to 1,000 years ago, based on this concept of balance, both positive and negative forces working together. And so the originator had this concept and idea, and he was a martial artist, and so he put together a set of movements that he coined to be Tai Chi Chuan, the grand ultimate fist. And so it originally started as a martial art, a very advanced martial art, in fact.
Where did they originate this? Do you happen to know that?
Yes, history tells us that Tai Chi Chuan started in a Taoist monastery called Wudong Monastery. Now, Wudong is a mountain range in northern China, and this Taoist monastery or temple has been there for hundreds of years, maybe even a couple of thousand years. I'm not certain. It's a very beautiful place. It's high up into the mountains, away from the rest of society. At least it used to be. Today, I think society has grown closer to it. But this kind of provided the perfect setting for Tai Chi to be developed. And Tai Chi wasn't the only martial art developed at this monastery. It's just one of many that they practiced there.
Well, practicing Tai Chi, I'm sure it has a lot of different benefits, but it's also used for defense training, and it's also used for health benefits. Can you tell us a little bit about how they would use this in these two different instances?
Oh, sure. Originally, we can only kind of guess what the originator, and his name happened to be Chang Sun Feng. And what we know about him, which is very little, in fact, is that he trained originally in martial arts at the Shaolin Monastery, which again is in northern China. Now, the Shaolin Monastery, interesting enough, is a Buddhist monastery. And legend tells us that he mastered many different styles while living in the Shaolin Monastery. And then he was inspired to move to the Wudong Monastery, where the Taoist practices were. He wanted to learn more about meditation, Neigong, Qigong, and these types of practices. And so, being a very gifted and well-rounded martial artist, he's looking for a way to improve his overall abilities. Okay? And so, and again, our history is based a lot around legends, what has been handed down orally from over the generations. It's said that while he was living on Wudong Mountain, he witnessed an event. And that event was two animals fighting, an eagle attacking a snake. And when he saw this, okay, he was inspired to create movement, okay, human movement, based on the way that each one of these animals were moving. He noticed how the snake had very fluid, circular movements to evade the eagle. The eagle had very sharp, direct movements trying to attack the snake. Now, beyond that, we don't really know whatever happened to the eagle and the snake. We can only imagine. But from there, it said that he was inspired to create some basic movements that he called Tai Chi. Now, it's my opinion that when he did this, he was looking for a way to really come up with different martial arts moves to improve his overall ability. Almost by accident, it seems that in this process, he came up with a very unique way to exercise the body, the mind, the chi, the internal energy, okay, while creating this very unique self-defense system.
So it's a non-competitive system that's combined with a gentle physical exercise, if I'm reading you right. Is that correct?
Yes. Now, most people's idea of what Tai Chi is today is a bit different than what it was originally intended for. Tai Chi, as I mentioned, is about 800 to 1,000 years old. And we don't know what happens early on in Tai Chi's history. But through my study and what I've been taught, we've been able to kind of fill in the gaps to kind of see the evolution of Tai Chi. The way people practice today is this very slow motion, very fluid, well-coordinated set of movements. And this is fantastic for the body. This is great exercise. Originally, however, those movements may have been a little bit harsher. They may have been faster, stronger, but still extremely fluid. But the one thing that hasn't really changed, as far as I can tell, is the mental integration, the concentration, the focus that is required to do these movements properly. And so you see an abundance, not a whole lot, but quite a bit of different approaches to Tai Chi that people are practicing today.
You know, I have to tell you, I've tried Tai Chi with the videotapes. I have several of them, and I have to tell you that it is a lot more difficult than most people understand. First of all, I don't think I have enough room in my living room, but by the same token, I found that the coordination, you really had to concentrate on what you're doing. So as an exercise, does it work both physically and mentally?
Oh, it most definitely is. You know, it's kind of funny because trying to learn anything from a videotape is very difficult. I mean, it's not impossible. It is hard. But it's been my experience, you know, as you mentioned, I've taught many, many students over the years here in Boise, and people come in oftentimes wanting to learn Tai Chi, and they have this preconceived image of what it may be, and they see people do it, and they say, I can do that. It looks easy enough. And I do believe anybody can do Tai Chi. There's no real, if you can stand up and walk upright, you can do Tai Chi. But it is hard. When you start moving in slow motion with the very deliberate movements, you're requiring your body to maintain balance, control, stability as you go through the exercises. Now, that's where we start, is by developing these types of skills just through the practice of Tai Chi. When you practice Tai Chi, it's this evolution of training, this evolution of fitness. And we start physically at first, because without those physical tools, balance, coordination, stability, good posture, then it would be very difficult to attain the next levels of training. And so this is where people usually struggle with Tai Chi in the beginning, is with those aspects of movement. But it doesn't take long. I mean, I try to encourage people, you just got to stick with it, stick to the program, practice daily as often as you can, and in short time, your body learns to adapt to these movements, and then you're going to really start to develop the confidence to continue on with the training.
Well, I have to tell you, when I was over in the Philippines, I did take a year of what they call karate. Now, I'm not sure how that relates to Tai Chi, but I will say this. It was quite challenging, and I didn't realize that it entailed actually toughening up your fist, where they had to have calluses on their hands. Now, none of that is involved in this. Is that correct?
No, not necessarily. I mean, it depends on what you're aiming to get out of Tai Chi. And it certainly does. I mean, if you're just doing Tai Chi for overall health and fitness, to feel good about yourself, I mean, just to get healthy, no, none of that is required. No hand toughening techniques, no strenuous exercise. But if you are a dedicated martial artist wanting to get involved with the traditional aspects of classical Kung Fu training, then sometimes those types of training techniques are required. Keep in mind that in the olden days, Tai Chi was rarely taught to beginning students, if ever at all. And what I mean by that is, if you had no martial arts experience whatsoever, if you never learned how to throw a kick or a punch, and a master in those days, if you wanted a master to teach you martial arts, if you could gain acceptance, and if they knew Tai Chi, they wouldn't start you out with Tai Chi. They'd wait 15, almost 20 years, depending on the student, so that you had some skill, so you developed some ability to continue on your advanced training into the area of Tai Chi.
John, I'm going to have to break in here, and we're going to have to wait a couple of minutes before we come back to you. We have to take a quick break, but we'll be back in a few minutes. You're listening to Healthy Conclusions, brought to you by Altrua Health Share, with your host Bob Neugebauer on 580 KIDO AM and 107.5 FM. Welcome back to Health Conclusions on 580 KIDO. We're speaking with John Keller, and he is the owner of the Shaolin Center and a 8th degree black belt elder master. John, let's continue where we left off.
Certainly.
And we were talking about the differences between karate and Tai Chi. And I guess what I wanted to get to is Tai Chi is pretty involved in meditation, deep breathing, emotional well-being. Are all those things part and parcel of what you learn when you're doing this?
Yes. As I mentioned earlier, there is a process or an evolution to your training in Tai Chi. We start our students out physically, learning the movements, allowing their bodies to adapt to the movements by developing core strength, good posture, coordination, things of this nature. Then eventually, as you learn the routines, and we call these routines forms, as you learn the form, a form is a set of movements. These movements are linked together through what we call postures. The form has a beginning and an end. Some Tai Chi forms are as short as 5 to 6 minutes. Other more advanced Tai Chi forms are as long as 20 to 30 minutes from beginning to end. Once we develop ourselves physically, then we go into the focus and concentration of the movements. With that comes the breathing, and it's rhythmic breathing. The breathing kind of adheres itself to the movements. Now, when we talk about breathing as an exercise, this is a very interesting area. Because here in the United States, when we think about exercise, we think of everything physical, doing push-ups, lifting weights, jogging, riding a bicycle, all these physical movements or exercises. But in the Chinese sense, in the Kung Fu sense, and Tai Chi sense, exercises also include breathing, proper breathing skills. And so we offer supplemental classes as well that focus on that, breathing and relaxation. These are called meditation techniques. And once you learn these, then you combine that with Tai Chi. Now, again, remember I mentioned that Tai Chi masters of the past, they would rarely take on a new student, brand new, without any skill or experience. So when they did take on a student with skills and experience, and they knew that they had something to work with, think of it like this. If you're going to school for the very first time, you're a first grader, we start you out learning basic mathematics. We don't start you out with calculus. You have to learn the basics first. And in maybe 15 years, you can start in advanced math. Tai Chi is kind of the same way. It's a classical form of martial arts training, but the instructors needed something more to work with to ensure that what they were passing on to the students stuck, and that they were learning and doing Tai Chi properly. Now, that way of thinking has kind of changed over the centuries, because now we recognize Tai Chi as a form of fitness and health, and it's very good for that. And so we do not require our students to have that type of or that level of experience in order to get started. But it's important to note that all these supplemental forms of exercise are only going to enhance your Tai Chi experience and enable you to further your Tai Chi training as you continue to work with it.
So have you found that Tai Chi could be a gentle stress reliever when you're talking about medication and deep breathing? I know the Mayo Clinic has said that this is something that you get from doing Tai Chi, is to get that relief from stress that people always seem to have.
Yeah. You know, stress can be linked to being the number one killer in this country. I mean, we can link all types of ailments to stress. And so if we can control and reduce our stress in our life, perhaps, we can control other ailments that come along the way. Meditation, there has been a lot recently studied on meditation and its effects on reducing stress, its effects on relieving pain, its effects on relaxing your body, your mind, and your body. So it's my belief, yes, that meditation is very important when it comes to reducing stress.
So do you teach that when you bring people in and you're teaching them Tai Chi? Is meditation part and parcel of what you're going through?
It certainly is, yes. Meditation and Tai Chi is a very big part of what we study overall. Now, we do have, we teach two separate programs here. One is our full Kung Fu program, and that's for students that really want to get into self-defense. They want to learn how to take care of themselves. They want to learn the traditional aspects of Chinese martial arts or Kung Fu. And so it's a bit more physical. But Tai Chi is a big part of that program. They're just not taught Tai Chi early on in the training. Tai Chi comes eventually after they've had a good basis in martial arts training. But then our other program is what we call our Tai Chi Neigong program, and it's very popular. And this is for people who really want to focus solely on Tai Chi. Perhaps they don't want to get all that physical in the regular Kung Fu class. They want to just focus on the softer arts, as we call them, the more internal arts. And so we have a dedicated set of curriculum for those types of people. Meditation, Qigong, Neigong, Tai Chi, and there are other internal martial arts too that aren't as well known as Tai Chi that we teach, but the complete package is fantastic for you.
Do you find that you get two different age groups from the two different types of courses you teach?
We do. Mostly older individuals, adults, are interested in our Tai Chi program. And we've got a thriving Tai Chi program with some great students involved. And their biggest concern is that They don't want to get too physical in our regular Kung Fu class because they're afraid of getting injured, which I don't blame them. I mean, these are adults with careers. They have families. And, whenever you suffer an injury, it can have a detrimental effect on that. And not that injuries occur all the time, but there is a little higher risk. In the Tai Chi class, the risk is very minimal. Okay, we focus on health and fitness. We focus on our ability. And so it really does kind of cater to older adults. Our Kung Fu class, we've got a great adult program as well. And these types of individuals, they really want to get more physical. They want to get more out of their workouts. They want to learn a very traditional form of martial art. They've seen some of the more modern-day martial arts, and they just don't appeal to them. And so they want to focus more on the classics, the classical way of developing your body, and eventually get into the internal program as well.
Well, I'm a 72-year-old guy. Do you find a lot of people my age coming in who are not really physically fit starting a Tai Chi program with you, or do you ask them to get physically fit first, or can you do that there?
No, we do that here. I never turn away anybody because of their lack of physical fitness, in their opinion. I look at an individual and I see ability in everybody. I firmly believe that anybody can do Tai Chi. There's one thing that will prevent you from doing it, and it's in your mind, in your head. If you can get past that, I'll be with you every step of the way. Me and my senior students, I've got a great bunch of senior students that really enjoy helping out all the other students. And people of your age and older really do thrive and improve their lives by practicing Tai Chi. And so it's fantastic for senior citizens.
I've also heard that Tai Chi can reduce pain and symptoms of depression. It can help reduce bone loss, improve lower body strength, help with arthritis, reduces blood pressure. I mean, there's an awful lot of different things here that it's good for. In fact, they even say it can improve Alzheimer's, MS, and Parkinson's, and it has an aversion for strokes and heart attacks for people who have had them. Have you found people who are looking for some rehabilitation in these areas coming in to study with you?
I have. There have been so many positive claims associated with Tai Chi, the list is endless, and I've heard all those claims that you mentioned. My personal experience is that Tai Chi can improve any ailment you may have. Okay? I look at it this way. It's not going to hurt or make it worse. It's only going to help to improve you and help better your life, whether it's in the area of controlling pain, controlling your high blood pressure, controlling your stress. Okay? Is it a cure-all? I'm not going to say that. But there have been some claims out there that are quite interesting. And I'd really like to see more study done in this area, because I really do think that it needs some attention. Because think about it. If everyone practiced Tai Chi in the world today, if everyone dedicated themselves to 10 to 20 minutes a day, okay, think about how much stress would be reduced. Think about how healthcare costs may go down eventually. Okay, think about how everyone's lives would benefit and improve just because they're feeling a bit more healthy.
John, we're going to have to take a quick break here. We'll be back in a few minutes. You're listening to Health Conclusions, brought to you by Altrua Health Share, with your host Bob Neugebauer on 580 KIDO AM and 107.5 FM. Welcome back to Health Conclusions on 580 KIDO AM and 107.5 FM. We're speaking with John Keller. He is an Elder Master 8th degree black belt and owns Chinese Shaolin Center for Martial Arts here in Boise. And we're discussing Tai Chi. We're sponsored by Altrua Health Share. So, John, we're talking about the benefits of Tai Chi, where it can help improve MS or Parkinson's or almost any of these autoimmune diseases, and even some of the ones that they're fast becoming some of the worst diseases in the country. We're talking about high blood pressure and diabetes and heart attacks and strokes. It seems like you do need a stress reliever, and this is pretty much one of the ways you can do this. It kind of reminds me of yoga. How do you compare it to yoga?
Well, there are some similarities, and yet again, there are some differences. We practice a form of Qigong that is very similar to yoga. Tai Chi and yoga, however, yoga takes individual postures, and you work on these sometimes very difficult postures to improve your balance and your flexibility and your strength. It's great for core strength. It's great for leg strength. Okay? And one thing about yoga that people may not understand is that the way you twist and contort your body sometimes is fantastic for your internal organ system. It allows blood and oxygen to flow through the internal organs more easily. Now, in Tai Chi, the postures aren't as difficult. Also in Tai Chi, the movements are continuous. And this is a really a neat thing about Tai Chi. We flow from one posture to the next without hesitation. And it's learning how to link those postures together that is one of the more difficult aspects in training in the beginning. Okay, is maintaining a very fluid and controlled state of movement. Whereas in yoga, from what I understand, and I'm no expert in yoga, is that you go from one posture to the next, and there may be slight pauses in between. Very experienced people in yoga can get from one posture to the next very fluidly without hesitation. But in Tai Chi, we really focus on that overall fluidity. What happens is when you work on that fluidity, as you're working on your balance and stabilization, you're really challenging that aspect of the exercise. Because when you have the opportunity to pause and reset, it's those in-between movements, those pauses that you're resting the body a little bit too much. We encourage students to keep moving with fluid control. And it's very interesting that way.
Well, I found one of the most difficult aspects of yoga was when they asked us to balance on one foot. Now, without shoes on, mind you. And the shoes lend stability to you when you're trying to do that. So what you're telling me here in Tai Chi is that it's a continuous flow and a continuous movement. So is balance a very important part along with flexibility and strength? Or is, when you're just moving, do those things even come into play?
Balance is very important in Tai Chi. And again, what's kind of funny is new students, especially adults, will often say, I'm in terrible shape. I have no balance, no coordination. My knees are weak. And I always say to them, I say, you came to the right place then, because you're not required to have those, but we will develop those abilities. And so there's a time or two in Tai Chi where your stances will get low, challenging your flexibility. There's a few times throughout the form where you're on one leg, challenging your stability and your balance. Now, a big part of balance is muscular stability. Okay, the stabilizer muscles being challenged. Once they have improved, they've gotten stronger, then your balance comes right along behind it. And so all these attributes work together. And so it is very challenging that way. And so as you work on your coordination, as you work on your stability, the balance improves, your posture improves. And posture is very important because with weak posture, there again, it hampers our breathing, it hampers the function of our internal organs. And so Tai Chi, we really focus on posture a great deal as well.
So would you consider Tai Chi a form of meditation in motion?
It is. A lot of times that's its nickname, meditation in motion. To get to that meditative state does take a while. I mean, keep in mind what the term Kung Fu means. Okay, it doesn't mean martial art. What it means, and this is a loose translation, because we can translate it using English many ways, but we say time and effort. And so when you put a lot of time and effort, let's say in this case into Tai Chi, eventually you're going to get into that state of meditation because you're so comfortable with the movements and your body is so in tune at this point And perhaps at this point you've learned some breathing and meditation techniques. And so then you take those techniques into the movement with you. And this is where the mind really, really starts to focus. Okay? And so Tai Chi is not just a set of slow motion movements, but it's the combination of those movements with prescribed breathing techniques, focus and concentration. Put them all together, you're now moving and meditating, okay, with your whole body.
So would you consider Tai Chi a good workout, or how would you compare it to a yoga session? Or, well, I know I can't compare it to a high-intensity training session because I've done the yoga and high-intensity training, and they're quite different.
Yeah.
But how would you compare it to a yoga session? Is it something that will get you into a more fit condition without the weightlifting and what have you?
I will say, Tai Chi isn't the one best way to exercise the whole body. It's a fantastic way to exercise the whole body, but it should be complemented with other forms of exercise too. Something more aerobic, something that's going to challenge your heart rate. Okay, something that's going to challenge you cardiovascularly. However, with that said, when you include the proper breathing skills, that can be a form of cardiovascular exercise. But it's my opinion that you do need some other activities to complement Tai Chi. And I always go back to the originator. What did he have in mind when he developed Tai Chi? He developed Tai Chi to enhance his already good ability. So as I sometimes tell my students, Tai Chi was developed by a very skillful martial artist to improve and enhance the overall skill of other martial artists. And so it's an enhancement to what you already do. Now, if Tai Chi is the only thing that you do, okay, in time, you may be inspired to pick up other activities. You may want to go out walking or jogging or riding your bike. And these will be fantastic complements for one another.
Would you think, or would you say that Tai Chi is a spiritual practice?
For some it may very well be. Again, I think that may depend on your definition of a spiritual practice. As far as a religious practice, no, it doesn't even have to be. It can just be if you're spiritual with your body and the way that you treat your body, definitely Tai Chi can enhance that, because it's the respect of the body, the way that you move, the way that you breathe, the way that you treat yourself. And so, to me, that's quite important. We need to have respect for our bodies, and we need to learn how to take care of our bodies, and we need to know many, many different methods, okay, so we can pick and choose the ones that work best for us.
Well, the reason I asked the question is, and I had somebody ask me, and they said that yoga was a religion, and I don't look at things that way. It's an exercise program as far as I'm concerned. I would consider Tai Chi the same thing, more in a meditative state. But I guess, some people could consider it spiritually involved. A question on Qigong. Is that the same as Tai Chi?
Kind of funny. Tai Chi is an advanced form of Qigong, but Qigong in general is not Tai Chi. And so Qigong is a term that we use to describe exercises that work with the internal energy of the body, typically using prescribed breathing techniques.
John, can you hold on for 1 second? We got to take a quick break here. We'll be back in a few minutes. You're listening to Health Conclusions, brought to you by Altrua Health Share with your host Bob Neugebauer on 580 KIDO AM and 107.5 FM. Welcome back to Health Conclusions on 580 KIDO AM and 107.5 FM. We're speaking with John Keller. He is an Elder Master 8th degree black belt and owns the Chinese Shaolin Center for Martial Arts in Boise. We are sponsored by AltruaHealthShare.org. So we're talking about Qigong and the difference between that and Tai Chi. Can we get back into that quickly, John?
You bet. Qigong has been around for quite some time, and that term may have changed over time as well, but it's the term we use today. And what Qigong is, it's a reference to exercises that enhance not just your body physically, but internally as well. And internally, in general, we talk about specific breathing exercises, okay, to enhance the internal energy, which is, in China, they call it qi. In Japan, they call it ki. In India, they call it prana. And I believe in the United States, the Western world, it's electromagnetic energy. Whatever you want to call it, this thought of stimulating that energy, okay, has developed many exercises over time that they call Qigong. Tai Chi is a form of Qigong, but it's a little different approach. We also classify it as a form of Neigong. Now, Neigong, loosely translated, means internal ability, using your mind, not necessarily breathing techniques. However, breathing techniques come into play. And so Neigong, Qigong are all used in the practice of Tai Chi.
Sounds like a train's going to run you over in a minute, John.
Yeah, it's about that time. It's going right by. Sorry about that.
What is medical Qigong? And a couple other quick ones while we're in here. Weight loss. What's the perspective for weight loss in Tai Chi? And can it help reduce lower back pain? Kind of three questions in one here.
Mm-hmm. Medical Qigong, again, these are prescribed techniques used in the medical field to help certain ailments. I believe all Qigong can be used that way. One form of medical Qigong that you may be familiar with is acupuncture. Okay, now this is a physical stimulation of pressure points and the nervous system using a needle. Okay, and acupuncture has been around for a couple thousand years. And so based on a lot of findings that they discovered through the use of acupuncture, a lot of Qigong techniques came about. As far as treating lower back pain, I can tell you through my own personal experience, Tai Chi is fantastic for that. It certainly beats medication, avoiding any surgeries that you may be looking at, because of the of how we approach posturing and how we approach movement. And so I feel that Tai Chi is fantastic for that.
Well, I'll tell you, I have had some experience with that myself, and I would say this: if you go to see a back doctor, I assure you it's going to cost you a lot more money than going down and taking a full course of Tai Chi if you want to improve your back pain, because he's going to give you a bunch of synthetic medicines, and then he's going to say, well, maybe you need to get some surgery. But I think that, this is the easier way of doing things, although it may take longer. How do you feel about this? It's kind of like an alternative medicine in some ways.
In some ways it really is. And you're right, it does take longer, and that's usually where most people fail. I understand how painful, in this case, back pain can be. It's very, very uncomfortable, and it's really hard to get through your daily routine when something like that is nagging you. But if you are able to just focus, stay determined, stay headstrong, and put in your daily practice, you can avoid a lot of those things. Like you said, synthetic drugs, possible surgery, and not to mention the high cost of doctor bills. I mean, to take Tai Chi lessons is very inexpensive compared to that, and it's better for you. And then you're learning something that you can do for the rest of your life and perhaps avoid any other injuries on down the road.
Well, I would imagine that you would build your body up in a way that you improve your balance, you improve your energy levels, you improve your breathing system, and I know that breathing properly will lower blood pressure. So it has an awful lot of benefits. What's the average age of the students that you teach Tai Chi for and seniors? What would you say the average age is?
I would say right now our average age is probably somewhere in the mid-40s, but I've got students, we do teach children. We don't teach them Tai Chi. But interesting enough, in our kids' class, I do teach them breathing exercises. They don't know that they're learning Qigong at the time. It's just part of the class. But our average age, so we have adults in our adult class from the age of 13 on up into their 70s. And so we've got quite a varied age group participating in our program.
Do you find Tai Chi is something that would help people with weight loss? I know yoga does. I'm just curious as to whether Tai Chi does the same thing. I know you wouldn't burn quite as many calories, but...
And that's the thing, you don't really burn quite as many calories because Tai Chi's focus is more internalized than it is physical. If your goal is to lose weight, that needs to be a combination of proper diet and a good exercise routine. Tai Chi can certainly be a big part of that because it can give you the focus and determination to see your diet through, to see you through to your goals.
So you don't recommend diets or anything, but you do recommend that people do stick to the regimen of the Tai Chi for a longer period of time, and this will make them more healthy.
Now, as I say, Tai Chi is for life. You don't learn it, remember it, and then put it on a shelf somewhere. You learn it, you practice it, you study it, you get deeply involved, and then you learn how to integrate it into your daily routine. And it doesn't take a whole lot of time. I mean, if you've only got 10 minutes here or there, better than nothing. If one day you've got 30 minutes, fantastic. But as long as you set aside a little bit of time daily, this is where you're going to really see some improvement. And you can't expect to see improvement in a couple of weeks. I mean, you'll see some. But the long-term effects is through daily practice for the rest of your life.
So when you teach Tai Chi, somebody joins a class, what's the typical time frame from beginning until you become reasonably effective at doing it?
Well, that's kind of hard to determine because it really does depend on how much time you put in at home. I mean, we can only offer so many classes throughout the week, and we encourage our students to come to as many of classes that are offered to you as you can. Now, some people may only be able to make it one day a week, which is fine. I mean, you can learn an awful lot, but you need to go home and you need to practice. And so the average time to learn our first Tai Chi form, because we teach many, but our beginner's form, you could probably learn that within 2 to 3 months and be confident that you can do it on your own without any assistance.
So it's not something you have to continually go back for unless you want to learn, I guess, the higher forms of it. Is that right?
It's true. I mean, once you learn one form, then you've got a Tai Chi form. Now the rest is up to you. But again, with that said, you know, we are human beings. We get bored very easily. And so it may sound good that you're going to learn one form in 3 months, and you'll say to yourself, I'm going to go home and practice this every day. But it's difficult to do. And so we find that when we continue to teach students different Tai Chi forms, different aspects of Tai Chi, and they learn different forms of Qigong, different internal methods of movement, because we also teach the complete system of Pak Wik Chong, which is another internal system, Xing Yi Chuan, another internal system, then the mind is being stimulated constantly. You're always learning. You're always putting forth, okay, that ability to learn, and you don't grow stagnant.
John, I'm going to have to cut us off, but we're going to get you back again. We'd like to thank John Keller for joining us this evening and for offering his insights into Tai Chi. This is Bob Nuckelbauer signing off for Healthy Conclusions. We hope you will join us again at the same time next Sunday for another hour of informative talk on nutrition, exercise, and alternative medicine options, sponsored to you by AlchuaHealthShare.org on 580 KIDO AM and 107.5 FM.